Warning, incoming game over. Warning, incoming game over.
Welcome in, everyone, to Game Over Toronto following yet another Leafs loss, their fifth in a row, this time 3-2 to the Chicago Blackhawks, ironically in a game that they actually played mostly well in for once, but they lose anyways because they're a bad hockey team, and that's what happens to bad hockey teams is they lose games. My name is Zach Payne. I'll be your host for this evening's program. We are going to have a bit of a rapid-fire show tonight. I got places to be, so this is going to be... The other night we went like an hour and 20 minutes. We're not doing that tonight. This is going to be under 40 minutes. It's going to be a quicker show. We don't have that much. Well, we actually do have a decent amount to talk about, which is funny. But we're going to go through the show as quickly as we can, starting with the recap. For those who don't know, Game Over Toronto, we're live after every single Toronto Maple Leafs game. In the first period, or first segment that we call a period here, we go over the game, the what happened in this one. Second period, we're going to do the big story. Third period, a smaller story. Fourth period, Q&A. The Q&A section is going to be shorter, but as you guys know, for the regulars that are here all the time, you know that this is an interactive show, and I talk to you guys throughout the program, so feel free to drop your thoughts on the Leafs, on this game, and in general in the chat. I see David is going off on the Leafs depth. Luke checking in saying I may never enjoy hockey again. Yeah, Luke, I feel you. I feel your pain. So we're going to start off here. This game, like many games, the Leafs start off looking horrible. Chicago was outchancing them early. They were sustaining pressure. The Leafs couldn't do anything for the first half of the first period. They were getting absolutely caved in. They had a couple of okay shots, but really nothing doing. Chicago was thoroughly outplaying them, and that came to a head on their first goal, where the Leafs had like 3 chances to clear and were unable to do so. And I actually do want to pull up the overlay here, because on this play, I want you to watch one Philip Myers, and this is way too big. My apologies. Hold on. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. I want to highlight this. Just look at Philip Myers on this play, number 51 at the bottom circle there. As this puck cycles around, he is going to not be covering anyone right now. He's going to be puck watching and puck watching and puck watching, and lets number 20 Ryan Green get wide open behind him as he floats into no man's land. Joseph Woll made a valiant effort on that one, but unable to get across. It slides 5-hole, and the Hawks open the scoring. However, even though it looked like the Leafs were going to go to the first intermission down by 1, they actually start playing a lot better in the second half of the first period. They start getting chances. They start actually outshooting the Hawks. They had like 14 shots in the first period, and the period comes to an end with John Tavares crashing the net, just taking it hard to the net on a little wraparound jam play, takes it to the net, and in the chaos, Nick Robertson bangs home a rebound to give the Leafs get the Leafs on the board and tie the game at 1. Into the second period, the Leafs honestly looked so good in this second period for the most part. They were getting chance after chance after chance, and they had one of their best shifts of the entire season, and that's not hyperbole. Like, genuinely one of their best shifts of the whole season. It starts with Easton Cowling getting a chance in front. He was unable to bury. Morgan Riley hit the post a few seconds after that, and then there was another shot that didn't go in, and then finally Ekman Larsson takes a shot. Nylander knocks it down, gives it to OEL. He throws it on. It gets blocked, but it deflects out to Morgan Riley, and he buries the second chance that he would get on that shift to give the Leafs a 2-1 lead. This play was reviewed for a high stick because William Nylander knocked it down with a high stick, except he didn't, because they determined that he knocked it down below shoulder height. I think that this is one of those cases that the officials were just like, inconclusive. We're going to keep it as the call on the ice. So the Leafs take the lead. William Nylander still cannot stop scoring points. And then we go into the third period once again with the Leafs having a lead. And again, we've talked about it all the time on this show. In the past, and by the past, I mean last year, if this team took a lead in an intermission, the game was over. This year's team, not so much. 5 minutes into the third period, Frankie Nazar hits a spin pass around Philip Myers, and by the way, I hate Philip Myers. And then Teuvo Teravainen, absolutely undresses Morgan Riley, just dangles right around him, makes a beautiful move, snipes on Joseph Woll from in tight, just a beautiful goal. Don't fault Woll at all. Riley got pantsed. Myers sucks. Is what it is. Great goal for Teravainen. And then the Hawks start to tilt the ice. They got a ton of energy and a ton of just intensity. That goal really went to their legs, and they started running the Leafs show in the third period. And then with just under 5 minutes to go. The Leafs, as is the story all year, unable to clear. I think it was Tavares unable to clear. And the Crevier, I don't really know who that is, I'll be honest, takes a shot, and Colton Dach deflects it in the slot. Once again, no chance for Wool on this play. Just a failure of the defense to not get it out, to not cover the guy in front. It goes in the back of the net. Honestly, all 3 goals, I don't fault Wool. And for all, Wool was genuinely good in this game. I thought Wool was kind of thrown to the wolves with the context in this game. We're going to talk about Wool in the second period, but he was good in this game. Regardless, the Leafs in the final few minutes unable to do much of anything, and they fall 3-2. They actually outshoot the Blackhawks. First time the Leafs have outshot an opponent in a while, but the Leafs lose again. They still stink. I should mention in this one, Easton Cowan, I mentioned, was in this game. He had a ton of chances, unable to bury. He had a couple of penalties, including a really dumb over the glass, but he had a lot of jump to his offensive game. The lines were jumbled all over the place. Berube's just pushing buttons at this point, and we got to talk about him as well because we learned something at second intermission with Elliot Friedman. So we're going to turn this over to our second intermission. For those watching, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe to Game Over Toronto, ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future streams. Again, sorry, boys, I'm in a bit of a hurry tonight. We got to get this show on the road. So I'm going to turn this over to our second period. In this second period, the Leafs are on a 5-game losing streak. They haven't had a 5-game losing streak since April of 2021. For those of you who remember April of 2021, the Leafs were completely coasting to end that season, is what it is. The Leafs are in a bad spot right now. They're in a very, very bad spot because they are now below 500. But they were below 500 technically, but they're below normal 500, below Bettman 500 now at 8-9-2. They look horrible most nights. Again, they actually did play a perfectly fine game in this one. They had a lot more jump. They had a lot more intensity to their game for the most part. They just kept making the same mistakes that we've grown accustomed to. But the biggest thing I want to talk about is we learned at second intermission through Elliot Friedman, Craig Berube is not on the hot seat. He's not on the hot seat. The Leafs are not considering firing him at the current moment, and they are focusing on trying to make a hockey trade. And what does that mean? They don't want to give up futures, so they don't want to give up Cowan. They don't want to give up Danford. They don't want to give up a pick, whatever. They want to trade a player off their roster and get rid of some of the extra depth pieces. David Kampf is now gone, so they have a little bit of it. That cap room is now finalized, but they have guys like Calle Jarnkrok and Steven Lorentz and Sammy Blais and all these guys that aren't in the lineup every day that they got to start making decisions on because you can't just keep these guys here. They did claim Troy Stetcher, who is solely here to be Philip Myers insurance because, oh my lord, I never want to see him play another hockey game again. He sucks. Phil Myers is so bad. So Stetcher's going to draw into the lineup presumably on Tuesday. And in a fully healthy lineup, he honestly might be in there over Benoit. The Leafs were going to call up Henry Thrun if they didn't get the claim on Stetcher. So they're at least trying to help the defense a little bit, but it sounds like they want to make another move. Carlo was obviously out of this game for some sort of maintenance injury, something. They need help, man. They need help. Matthew checking in saying, I don't feel upset with this game, just sad for the loss. I feel you, man. Luke saying, my biggest worry is that this team just breaks, or is that this just breaks the team spirit completely. They must already be feeling pretty demoralized, but now they can't even win when they play well. That's got to suck. Well, you got to dig in and just keep playing better. Joseph Wall playing well. Yep. They did a better job of clearing this game, but they still got hemmed in way too much. It was a lot less, because the clearing issues have been a thing all season. It was a lot less, for the most part. But like you say, Luke, it was definitely, they still had those shifts where they got hemmed in for like 3 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever. So they don't get a full pass on that. They did do a better job, but I think that just comes down to the fact that they actually had purpose in this game and they actually played with intensity. I disagree with who would be on play waivers. Well, yeah, you're not going to put 4 regulars on waivers. That's all, like, that's, if that's not satire, like, that's not going to happen. Cowan will get those goals soon. He just needs to get the nerves out. I honestly, the more I see Cowan and the more he gets confidence, the more I'm convinced, like, yeah, this is going to be a really good player. This is going to be a really good player. Whether he does anything beyond, I mean, Tree Living's got to do something, because this is obviously not working. The offense wasn't there. I mean, offense has not been the problem for the Leafs this season. The Leafs are first in the league in goals for, or at least they were coming into Saturday. Goals have not been the problem. They have not been hard to come by. Yes, there was an argument that the Leafs are just shooting the lights out and they need to get more sustained offense. They got more sustained offense tonight. And Spencer Knight is also having a fantastic season. Spencer Knight is a really good goalie. So, yeah, the Leafs only scored 2. They generated a good amount of chances. They played perfectly fine offensively. Offense is not the problem. There wasn't much Tree could do over the offseason, and until we saw the results, just a lot of people who interested by who was picked up. Joshua Wall, Michelli are starting to get better and more of a groove. While, yes, Michelli, I think, has been snake-bitten a lot this year, because Michelli has done a great job of setting people up, and they just don't bury. He's had his moments of bad play. Joshua, what do you do here? What do you do here? I've been super disappointed with Joshua. I try to keep pretty upbeat about the Leafs, but Myers is rough. Oh, it's so bad, man. It's so bad. I was on Myers' side last season, but this season I'm on board for waivers. I mean, Myers was good last season when he had to play. Not good, but he was fine last season. This year he just stinks. When I think of the excerpts from Beatles song, what? Just dropping by to see you. Hope you are well. Thank you, Pyro. Hope you're well as well, man. Hope you are well as well. Everyone you see is half asleep. Too much making perfect plays with execution off enough to score just 2 goals. I mean, David, that's a 1. The Leafs have been scoring this season. That's not the problem. That is not the problem. The problem is they are horrible defensively. Horrible. Like that first goal against, where Philip Myers is just doing something, like Joseph Woll has to dive across the crease to try to make a save. Like, that's horrible defense, and they couldn't clear. The second goal, Myers again, and Riley gets destroyed by Teravainen, who just makes a great play. And then the third goal is a deflection because you can't clear the zone. I'm more worried about the defense. Anyways, the point is, the Leafs, things are not going well. They need to do something to this roster. But Craig Berube is not going to be one of them, at least right now. The Leafs, this would probably have to continue through American Thanksgiving for Berube's job to be in jeopardy. The Leafs clearly value this coach, the organization, I mean. And it doesn't seem like anything's going to change. It doesn't seem like it. Plain and simple. So the Leafs, when Matthews is back, when Tanev is back, when Lawton is back, if they play like this when they're fully healthy, they'll be fine. But that is also contingent on they need to still improve, because they still suck defensively and keep making too many of the same mistakes. That's the thing, right? Mistakes happen. It's hockey. It's sports. Mistakes are going to happen. Otherwise, there would be zero. If you didn't make mistakes, there'd be 0 shots against every game, right? The problem is, when mistakes happen, you need to correct them. The Leafs are making the same kinds of mistakes. That's where my frustration comes in. The Leafs aren't learning from their mistakes. They keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and it's not getting better, because that's not how life works. You don't just get, it's the definition of insanity. Or alternatively, Berube to quit, because he's not going to quit. He's not going to quit. It would be the most shocking thing of all time if Berube quit his job. It's not going to happen. So the coaching staff is going to stay in place unless the Leafs legitimately lose 10 in a row. And obviously, by sheer math, that won't happen. And as we switch into the third segment, we're going to actually talk about something positive. Okay? Can we do that? Let's talk about one positive thing. Joseph Woll was good. He was good. Genuinely good. And again, as we head into this third segment, feel free to hit like and subscribe, folks. It takes 2 seconds. The biggest problem, one of the 2 biggest problems has been the defense and giving up too many high-quality chances. The other has been the Leafs can't get a save to save their lives. In this game, they did. And that's honestly the reason this game is close. The Blackhawks had a good number of chances. Joseph Woll was legitimately very good. I dare say if Anthony Stolarz started this game, this might have been a 6-2 game. Too blunt? That might be too blunt. The point is, though, Joseph Woll, first start of the season, I was very worried coming into this game because you have a Leafs team that has been horrible defensively, like just horrible. And you have Tanev out. You have Carlo out, meaning you have Philip Myers and Dakota Marmis in your lineup, unironically, and Benoit's on the second pair. McCabe is forced to the right side. And on paper, I was like, this is going to be a disaster. I'm so sorry, Joseph. Not to mention, Woll missed training camp and only played a game and a half with the Marlies to get up to speed. Everything was set up for Woll to be just destroyed in this game, and the Blackhawks just rip him apart, and he's not at 100% conditioning wise and preparation wise, and he just is out of it. And the Hawks come in because they're a very good young team, and they just light him up. I fully expected that. I was so pleasantly surprised by Woll, considering the context. And again, grading on a curve here, but considering Woll missed training camp and only came back to the Leafs organization like a week ago and only played a game and a half, and considering how bad the Leafs are defensively, he was super solid. He had one spectacular save on Lev Shunov, I believe it was, where Lev Shunov tries to go around him and Woll just kicks the toe out and gets a toe on it. That was fantastic. He had a number of good saves on Bedard, on a couple of their shooters as well, just getting very good in tight, as we know he is. He was battling through traffic a lot. The Leafs did a horrible job clearing the front of the net tonight, and Woll was battling in there. I was super, 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 super happy with Woll. Lev Shunov would still say, that's not the point. Good for him. That's not the point. The point is, on that one play where he could have had a goal, and against other goalies in this organization, he definitely would have. It is what it is. Berube needs to hand out some pixie sticks before the third, so they have a bit more chill. Good to see you, OKO. But yeah, Woll definitely looked the part. He looked like he did last year, right? This is what Joseph Woll is. He's a super solid goalie, and if the Leafs give up too many good chances, he's not going to bail them out of everything, but he's fully capable of playing normal, good goaltending. That is what it is. It is what it is. Another positive, Bedard went pointless. Yeah, that happens. This is the thing, is when we watch the Leafs and we're like, oh, Nylander, if Nylander didn't have a point or Matthews didn't have a point, we get on them because you expect it to happen every night. You can't score every night. It just is the nature of it. We get frustrated because we pay, stars get paid or stars have the expectations. That doesn't mean it's going to happen every night. So Bedard was super active in this game. He had a number of good chances that if you replay this game 100 times with those same chances, he probably scores on one of them. That one where he had a spinorama in front that Woll got with the foot, he was sitting down and saved it. Bedard was very good in this game. I wouldn't be worried about that. We need Stolarz to come back so we don't have to overplay Woll. Yep, that is a huge thing, Matthew. That is a huge thing because we saw what happened to Stolarz, and that didn't go well when he was overplayed. Now that Woll is back, when Stolarz is back, alternate. We're alternating. Woll is going to get a couple of games here while Stolarz is out, and that's fine. Woll can handle. He doesn't start again until Tuesday. Leafs don't play till Tuesday. And then you can get into a normal rotation, and then we can properly evaluate Stolarz as well, because Stolarz we know can't be a starter, a full-time starter. Now we're going to get him back into a spot where hopefully he will have a little bit more success. Leafs special teams had a mixed game, over 3 on the power. Yeah, the Leafs power play is not good. The penalty kill is good. I will say, the penalty kill, I know the numbers have them as 24th or 25th or something in the league. They are actually good on the penalty kill. They just don't get saves. So when they have a normal goalie in there that gives them normal goaltending stats, Joseph Woll will help the penalty kill do much better. I'm not worried about the PK. The power play, I'm a lot concerned. The refs let a lot go tonight, a little more on Chicago side. Dude, the Leafs got away with a lot. I'm not going to lie. There was the one where Michelli cross-checked a guy right into the boards, right in front of the ref, and no call. I was shocked. There was another where McMahon tripped a guy at the side of the net. No call. What were the final penalties in this game? They were... The Leafs, they were 3-2. So... yeah, not bad. But yeah, the penalty kill was good. Oh yeah, David just put it in the chat. Sorry, I'm stupid. Leafs got away with a good amount. That is what happened. Of Matthews, Nylander, Riley, Tavares, who participated, well, not Matthews, all put up points. Yep, Riley had a nice goal. Riley had a nice offensive. It's the story of the season, right? Riley was good offensively and bad defensively. Nylander and Tavares did their thing. Is what it is. Is what it is. Wow, William Nylander has not registered a shot on goal in consecutive games, though. That's crazy. First time since 2019, December of 2019. That's crazy. Wool/Hildeby will save us. Hildeby was perfectly acceptable when he was in. So yeah, that would work. Armonia checking in saying, next up, Blues, Jackets, and Habs. How long do we have to wait for a W? I'm not going to lie. The Blues are miserable right now, if memory serves. How are the Blues doing right now? One moment. The Blues, who are currently down 4-0 to Vegas, are... the Blues are 6-8-4, about to be 6-9-4. The Blues are worse than the Leafs, somehow. That's not a long list. That's impressive. To be worse than the Leafs right now is not easy. The Leafs are tied for the Canucks for 27th in the league. Not great. So, the fact that the Blues are worse is impressive. Plus, it's Berube's old team. I think the Leafs will have some jump for that game. The Leafs will win, and they got killed by the Jackets. The Leafs are going to be motivated for that, and the Leafs have a style that matches up decently with the Habs. They're going to win this week. I mean, just by sheer math, they should win this week. Nylander's a point in the last 13 games. Yeah, I know. That wasn't a criticism. I was just reading out a stat. Nylander's been fantastic this season, although I do think there was the one play where late in the third where he had the puck in the slot. There was a defender in front of him, and he tried to make a pass, and I was like, that's not... You usually rip those. I do think Nylander needs to drive the net a little bit more. I think he needs to be a little bit more selfish. If I had one criticism of Nylander... Actually, he just needs to be better defensively as well. But points-wise, he's been fantastic. And generating offense, he's been fantastic. So yeah, Joseph Woll, good. Excited to see how the penalty kill looks with a competent goalie, and hopefully the Leafs clean up their act in front of him and don't ruin Woll's stat line as well, and hopefully Stolar's is also improved when he gets back now that Woll is here to tandem with him. With that being said, again, sorry folks, it's going to be a shorter show this evening. Like I said, I got places to be. So this fourth and final segment, this is the part of the show that we invite your questions. So if you have any questions, this is going to be a quicker segment unless you guys bombard me, which, I mean, go for it if you want to. This is the part of the show where if you have any Leafs-related questions or hockey-related questions in general, this is the time to drop them in the chat as we wind down the show. And, of course, follow Game Over Toronto or subscribe to Game Over Toronto. Hit that like button. Follow the Game Over Network on social media as well. Go check out Game Over Montreal's. They're pushing for 1,000 subs. And yeah, I'm trying to see what else is being said. Craig Berube, right now we're just a little bit unconfident. Okay, he's peddling the same narrative. Morgan Riley, I know for a fact that the compete level, the desire is there, and at times it might be too much, so you start squeezing the stick, you start overthinking. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Whenever you're in something that's challenging, it's all-consuming, but there's a belief within our team, and that's powerful. Is there? It seems like that belief is fading. Seems like it's fading. Unlike the Pistons, what did the Pistons have to do with the Leafs? Different sport. The Pistons are also like laughable, or were laughable that year. The Leafs are more talented respective to their sport than the Pistons were back then. If Lawton comes back before Matthews, do you try him as the first line C? What is with the Tavares slander here, Matthew? What is with the Tavares slander? Lawton can be the 2C, though. I will say, this idea that Lawton is just a 4C is dumb. He was a consistent like 35 to 40 point guy, and he was a winger in Philadelphia, and Berube saw him and was like fourth line center. Like, if anything, Lawton should be in the Alex Kerfoot role. Try him on the second line. Try him on the wing. Try him, like, give me a checking line of Joshua Waugh and Lawton. That sounds fun. So I would try Lawton in just more of a role than what he's been in. Is it really surprising that Berube isn't in the hot seat? What would it fix to dump him? He's gotten us further than anyone else. I mean, there's a lot of people, including myself, that have always pushed back against the Berube hire because it's not a system that is suited to what the Leafs' existing players do well. So there was always going to be that friction. We saw the best version of it last year, and we saw what happens when this system gets good goaltending. This year, we're seeing what happens when it doesn't get good goaltending. Plain and simple. Do you like Cowan on the top line? I like Cowan wherever you can put him. He did have a couple of dumb, boneheaded penalties, and he had one really bad defensive zone turnover. He also had a number of good scoring chances. I like putting Cowan in positions to sink or swim and letting him figure it out. He's drinking drinking water from a fire hose a little bit. It's been a lot for him, but this is how he develops. And I've said this before. Even when I was advocating to send him down to the Marlies, I don't care where Easton Cowan plays. Just give him a consistent role. I don't want to do any of this like you're not playing the third period crap. Like, just let him play. The Pistons I know that the Pistons had a 28-game losing streak. I'm just saying, basketball, hockey, and also, like, horrific Pistons team versus talented Leafs team, complete apples to oranges. Tavares playing better than a point per game. Love that, man. Dude, I think dollar for dollar, Tavares this year is going to be one of the craziest contracts in the league. Berube met with Pelly before Tree did. He is higher than Tree in their eyes. Well, not higher, but it's clear that the Leafs brass values Berube, and they like Berube. Whereas Tree Living, it's so weird, man. It's so weird. The Leafs organization is so weird. And I've talked about it before, but if Tree Living doesn't have the bandwidth to fire Berube or make the decision on Berube, fire Tree Living right now, because then why is he the GM if he doesn't have the bandwidth to make those decisions? Plain and simple. Do you think they play Stetcher next game? God, I hope so. God, I hope so. Get Myers out of my life. In a fully healthy lineup, Stetcher should be the third pair right defenseman. Get OEL back on the left. And for now, he should be in the lineup. Yep. Get Stetcher in there, please. All right. I'll give you guys a second if you have any last questions. Let me check some last Leafs quotes. Jake McCabe on Joseph Wool. He did a phenomenal job. I just told him that. Super good seeing him back in there and grinding and battling. He was composed all night, so that gives me a lot of joy just seeing him do his thing out there. It was awesome. There is something to be said about the Leafs maybe playing better when they trust their goalies. So maybe if Wool comes in and is solid, we'll see. We will see. This team isn't really in trouble right now. We don't have a first pick in 2 years. What do you mean they aren't in trouble? You mean like they are definitely in trouble. If the Leafs are bad, you know who has their first pick this year? The Bruins. You want to repeat the Tyler Seguin situation? No. They're definitely in trouble right now. But the good news, Sean, they have so much time to fix it. So much time. So much time. We still have like 60 games to play. There's so much time. And the Atlantic has been like comically mid to start this season. So much time. The Leafs are still only like 4 points back of first place in the Atlantic, which is hilarious. Like the Atlantic is so mid this year. We are the mid division. I will say I hope they don't hold on to Berube or anyone else longer than they did with the Core 4 concept. Well, my fear is actually the Babcock situation where In 2019, when the Leafs lost to the Bruins the second time, everyone was ready to fire Babcock because he was bad. But the Leafs brass was like, yeah, but we really liked Game 5. Game 5. You lost in 7 games, and you lost Game 6 at home and got blown out in Game 7. But you really liked Game 5, and so you held on to Babcock for like 20 games into the next year. And it was a disaster, and then they fired him and hired Keefe. It was a whole thing. So I hope they don't repeat that. The pressure's clearly on Berube to put Stetcher in the lineup. Yeah, I'm curious because Stetcher doesn't scream Craig Berube guy to me, but they need someone like Stetcher because Myers is unplayable. In any case, I plan to move on with my weekend and see where the rest of it goes. David, thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you have a more pleasant weekend than watching the Leafs. I hope the rest of your weekend is nicer to you than the Leafs are. Is there any player you would trade for if you were GM? It's hard to name like specific players. I would be calling on a lot of guys. I'd start by seeing what I could get for the depth guys that aren't everyday players and see what's out there. I would just start making phone calls. And I'm sure Tree Living is. Just got to start calling, man. Just got to start calling. Thanks for the show, Luke. Thank you for being here. It was a pleasure to see you. So that is going to be it for this show. Again, I'm sorry, guys. A little bit of a shorter show tonight, but like I said, I got places to be. The UFC card is going on right now. I'm going to go watch that for you UFC fans. Makhachev JDM on tonight. It's going to be a good one. So I'm going to go watch that. And I will see you guys on Tuesday after the next Leafs game against the St. Louis Blues, which hopefully the Leafs can snap their losing streak then. And if not, hopefully Matthews doesn't miss another game after that. It is what it is. JDM. Oh yeah, Luke, that's your guy. I'm cheering for JDM as well. We gotta do something about this. Although if Makhachev wins, we might get to see Topuria versus Makhachev. There's 2 good outcomes. I just want to see a good fight. Please just be a good fight. I did bet on JDM though. So with that being said, have a good one. Have a good rest of your weekend. Have a good couple of days. I'll see you guys on Tuesday night. And you can follow me on Twitter, Bluesky, and YouTube at Zach Payne 41. If you are an NFL fan, I am streaming Lions-Eagles tomorrow night on my channel. Again, Zach Payne 41. So if you are an NFL fan and you want to come hang out, go subscribe to my channel over there. Again, you can find it on Twitter, Bluesky. You can find it. If you look hard enough, you can find it. You can come hang out with me there as well. So see you guys next time. Cheers.